Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Beyond the Surface podcast. There are certain questions we carry with us quietly, without even realizing it. Questions that don't really show up when life is loud, but when things slow down, late at night, during a walk, or after a conversation with someone you care about. Suddenly, they appear out of nowhere. And recently, I caught myself thinking about one of those questions. Not a small one, not something you can Google, something really bigger actually. I was just sitting, minding my own business, and it just hit me. What does it mean actually to be human? Not in a dramatic way, not in a philosophical professor vibe kind of thing, no, just honestly. Because when you think about it, we wake up every day doing the same things, right? Eating, working, stressing, laughing, getting annoyed, trying to figure out life step by step, and it's so easy to forget how strange and beautiful it is just to exist as a human being, right? We are these creatures who feel everything deeply: joy, insecurity, loss, excitement, jealousy, even hope. Sometimes all in the same day, right? All of these emotions. We feel them really deep. We dream about futures that don't exist yet. We build stories around our own lives. We give objects meaning. We try to understand ourselves even though we are confusing as hell most of the time, right? Like, think about it. We are aware that we are alive. We are aware that we are aware, and that simple awareness shapes everything: our choices, our relationships, our fears, our purpose. No other species wakes up and thinks, who am I? What am I doing with my life? Animals never wonder whether they are fulfilling their potential, right? They don't do that, but we do. We question, we imagine, we doubt, we hope, and we try to create meaning out of chaos. And maybe that's why this topic feels so rich to me, because answering what does it mean to be human is impossible, honestly. But exploring it is meaningful. It's like holding up a mirror not just to the world, but to yourself. And every angle shows you something different: philosophy, culture, biology, memory, language, the things that shaped us and the things we keep shaping. So, today, I want us to walk through this question together, slowly, openly, without trying to force a single definition. Just to explore the layers, to look at this question from different angles, to see how philosophers explain it, how anthropologists studied it, and most importantly, how ordinary people like you and me feel it. So let's start with philosophy, because if there's any field that has obsessed over this question for thousands of years, it's philosophy probably. But don't worry, we're not going into lecture mode. We'll keep it simple, human, and grounded, the way philosophy is supposed to feel. So, if you go all the way back to the ancient Greeks, people like Socrates and Plato believed that being a human is basically being a creature that seeks truth. Socrates would walk around Athens asking unknowing questions, poking at people's beliefs until they realized they didn't know as much as they thought. For him, being human meant being curious, questioning yourself, your society, your assumptions. On the other hand, we have Plato. He saw humans as beings caught between two worlds: the world of appearances and the world of ideals. So, in a way, to be human is to constantly feel torn between what is and what could be. Aristotle famously called the humans rational animals. Not because we're always rational, trust me, we are not, but because we have the capacity to reflect, evaluate, and act with intention. He also believed that being a human means striving toward a purpose, what he called eudaimonia, a life of flourishing. So, in his view, being a human is about growth. It's about becoming your best possible self. Then we get to the Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca, who saw humans as beings capable of inner freedom. To them, being a human meant having the ability to choose your response even when the world around you is chaotic. We can feel pain, but we can still decide our attitude toward it, right? We can't control the universe, right? But we can control our reactions. Marcus Aurelius would say things like, you have power over your mind, not outside events. That was his way of saying the essence of being a human is our inner life, not our circumstances. Then we have the existentialist philosophers, Jean-Paul Sartre, Albert Camus, and Soren Kierkegaard. These guys took the conversation to another level, really. Sartre said we are condemned to be free, meaning we didn't choose to be born, yes, but once we are here, we are 100% responsible for who we become. No excuses. Kierkegaard talked about the anxiety that comes with being human, the dizziness of freedom. Like when you stand on the edge of a cliff, not because you will fall, but because you could. And the last philosopher, even though he doesn't consider himself as a philosopher, because he's an author, Albert Camus, he says being a human is realizing that life is absurd, but still choosing to live it with passion. To him, the beauty of being a human is that we create meaning even when the universe gives us nothing. Humanists introduced a softer angle. They said being a human means having dignity, creativity, and the ability to improve. We are not passive beings, by the way. We build things, art, science, love, communities. People like Maslow believed our humanity shows up not only in survival, but in self-actualization, becoming something more than what we were yesterday. Then there's the Eastern perspectives, Buddhism, Taoism, and Confucianism. These beliefs actually bring a different flavor to this question. Because Buddhism teaches us that being a human means experiencing suffering, but also having the capacity to become aware of that suffering and transcend it. Taoism says being human is about flowing with life, not fighting it, letting things unfold the way rivers do. Confucianism says being human is fundamentally relational. We exist through our responsibilities to others, family, community, and also society. So the East sees humanity not as isolated individuals, but as interconnected beings, right? Then we have modern philosophers. Modern thinkers have gone even deeper. Philosophers like Charles Taylor, Paul Ricoeur, and Martha Nussbaum say that being a human is basically being a storyteller. We don't just live life, we narrate it. We build identities out of memories, dreams, fears, culture, and language. Everything we do, even suffering, becomes part of the story we tell ourselves. We are the only species on Earth that can rewrite its own story. And that's really extraordinary for modern thinkers. But when you put all these views together, you realize something. There's no single answer to what does it mean to be human, right? That's too obvious. But there are patterns, right? I mean, we question, we reflect, we feel deeply, we build meaning, we create stories, we seek connection, we search for truth, and we try to understand ourselves. And also we are aware of life, right? We are aware of death. Philosophy shows that being a human isn't one thing, it's a whole experience. Now let's look at this question from another angle, the scientific one. Because philosophy explains how it feels to be human, but anthropology explains how we become human. From a biological point of view, being human starts with our evolution. We didn't just appear out of nowhere, we slowly became who we are today, right? Our brains got bigger. We started walking on two legs, we learned how to use our hands in a more complex way. We also formed groups to survive. And the craziest part, our emotions. Fear, love, jealousy, connection, all of these originally existed to help us stay alive, right? But today, they shape our whole inner world. So, in a biological sense, being human means having a brain that can think in the past, imagine the future, and create things that don't exist yet. Humans don't just survive, we build cultures. Every culture, every country, every group has its own way of answering what it means to be human. We create traditions, values, rules, celebrations, ideas of right and wrong, beliefs about family, relationships, and community. This is why growing up in different cultures shapes different versions of being human. And honestly, I couldn't agree more with this because I experienced this firsthand. So, what's fascinating is that humans need meaning. So, every culture gives people a story to live inside. Then we have archaeological anthropology, what the past tells us. Archaeology is basically humans digging up other humans' lives, right? Through old tools, bones, art, fire pits, and even burial sites. We we see what mattered to people thousands of years ago, right? We see that humans always cared about beauty, they made art, community, they lived in groups, fear, they hunted and hid from danger, hope, they buried their dead with objects. So, even ancient humans were searching for meaning, connection, and some kind of purpose, I would say. And then we have the linguistic anthropology. Language makes us human. And maybe the most special part of being a human is language, really. We are the only species that can tell stories, teach ideas, express complicated emotions, imagine something and explain it, talk about the past and the future, share dreams, create identities through words. Language didn't just help us communicate, it shaped how we think. It shaped cultures, it shaped relationships, it shaped everything, literally. When humans learned how to speak, they also learned how to think deeper. And when we learned how to write, we learned how to remember. So, what does anthropology teach us overall? Anthropology shows that being a human is a combination of many layers: our biology, our culture, our history, our language, our relationships, and our creativity. So, we are not simple creatures, we are a mix of all these things. And each one of these adds something to what it means to be human. Before recording this episode, I spent some time reading what ordinary people say about this question. Not philosophers, not scientists, just people like you and me. People on Reddit, Quora, and some random comments. And honestly, some of their answers felt more real than anything you can find in a book. Because sometimes the deepest thoughts come from people who aren't trying to be deep, they are just speaking from experience. I actually wrote some of the important answers I found. So there was one guy who wrote something like being human means feeling everything too much. And I felt that honestly. Some days we are excited, some days we are heartbroken, some days we are confused. Being a human means riding this emotional roller coaster and still waking up the next day trying again and again and again. Another person said, to be human is to need other humans. We try to act strong and independent, but deep down we need someone to hug, someone to trust, someone who understands us, and someone to laugh with. Even the most introverted person needs at least one person who feels like home, right? Another guy wrote, being human is wanting your life to matter, even in a small way. We all want to leave a mark, right? Not a big one, maybe, just something. Even if it's a memory in someone's heart, even if it's just making one person's life a little easier. Another person, actually, this one hit hard. He said, to be human is to suffer and still hope. Isn't true? Humans suffer emotionally, mentally, physically. But what makes us human is that we don't give up easily. We always think tomorrow might be better. We always try to heal. We always try to make sense of the pain. One person wrote something funny but really real. He goes, humans are weird. We are the only species that asks why after everything. Kids do it, adults do it, philosophers do it. We want to understand not just what happens, but why it happens. Another person said, being a human means inventing worlds that don't exist. We imagine futures, we picture who we want to become, we dream about things we haven't lived yet, right? This imagination helped humans create art, religion, science, stories, and whole civilizations. Someone wrote something really honest. He goes, humans are complicated. We want closeness, but we push people away. We want honesty, but we lie. We want peace, but we create problems. We are emotional, but we hide it. We are scared, but we act strong. We are fragile, but we pretend we are tough. And I think that's part of being a human too, right? We are full of contradictions all the time. We are never just one thing. One answer really stayed up with me. Someone said, being a human is noticing small moments: warm sunlight, a good laugh, a deep conversation, a cup of tea after a long day. Sometimes humanity shows up in the quiet moments, not the big ones, believe me. So, overall, when you ask people what it means to be human, you don't get one answer. You get hundreds. And all of them are true in their own sense, right? Being a human is messy. It's emotional, it's confusing, it's beautiful. It's painful, it's hopeful, it's funny, it's chaotic, it's fragile, it's powerful, but most importantly, it's shared, I would say. We all experience the same things in different ways. Now, I wanna just reflect a bit on my own opinion on this topic. If I'm being completely honest with you, whenever I think about what it means to be human, the first thing that comes to my mind is self awareness. This strange, almost painful ability to watch ourselves, our thoughts, our actions, our mistakes, like we are both the player and the observer. It's crazy when you think about it, right? We don't just live, we know we are living. We don't just feel, we analyze what we feel. We don't just exist, we question why we exist. Sometimes it feels like a gift, like having this inner space where you can reflect, grow, and understand yourself. And sometimes it feels like a curse, right? Because self awareness also brings overthinking, doubt, fear, insecurity, the pressure of becoming someone, the fear of disappointing yourself. No animal wakes up and thinks, why am I like this? Why did I react that way? Who do I want to become, right? Only humans do that, by the way. And even though it's heavy sometimes, I think it's part of what makes life meaningful, because the more aware you become, the more intentional your life feels. And another part of being a human, maybe the biggest part, is how deeply we feel things. We don't just feel emotions, we experience them with our whole bodies. When we are in love, our heart literally beats different. When we are anxious, our stomach hurts. When we lose someone, our chest feels heavy. When we hear good news, our whole body relaxes, right? We feel love, guilt, resentment, excitement, loneliness, hope, jealousy, compassion, fear, and belonging. Sometimes all within the same hour, right? And this is what's fascinating. We don't only feel emotions, we become aware that we feel emotions. We say things like, why am I like this? I know I shouldn't be upset, but I am. I'm scared, I know I'm scared. I'm happy, but I don't know why. That's human madness, right? We are constantly feeling and constantly observing ourselves feeling. Being human isn't just about being alive, it's about noticing that you are alive, noticing the details, noticing the changes, noticing the emotions moving through your body. It's about sitting with yourself and realizing, I'm not a machine, I'm not simple, I'm not predictable. I'm a whole universe of thoughts and feelings. Self awareness is what allows us to grow, reflect, apologize, forgive, dream, change, improve, love deeply, and heal slowly. So, without self awareness, none of that exists. I think the more I live, the more I understand that being a human means having depth, emotional depth, mental depth, spiritual depth. We care too much, right? About depth generally. We feel too much. We think too much, actually. We love also too much. And yes, it hurts sometimes, it really does hurt, but it's also what makes life worth living. Now, I just want to talk about something important here. Let's just talk about the idea of watching ourselves. Because that feeling is way more common than people admit, right? You know, when you are moving through the world, but there's a part of you that's watching how you move, how you talk, how you show up, almost like you're living your life and observing it at the same time. That tension, that split, is exactly where Du Bois' ideas of double consciousness becomes powerful. I actually experience this a lot. Maybe it's because of my multilingual background, but I don't know, I just feel it a lot all the time. So, Du Bois originally used it to describe the experience of black Americans. The sense of always seeing yourself through your own eyes and through the eyes of a society that judges you. But the reason this concept resonates far beyond its original context is because the core feeling is universal. The conflict of having more than one identity inside you and trying to make them coexist without losing yourself. For a lot of people today, immigrants, multilinguals, third culture kids, anyone who had to adapt, this becomes a daily reality. You move through your life carrying two mirrors, one that reflects who you feel you are, and another that reflects who the world expects you to be. And that's when you start doing that thing, monitoring yourself, adjusting your tone, softening your opinions, calculating how you will be perceived before you even speak. It's not that you're fake, you're adapting. It's not that you're lost, you're just navigating. But this creates a kind of emotional tiredness that's hard to explain. Because it's not dramatic, it's silent, it's subtle. You just feel like you're living with a slight delay, always self-editing in real time. And here's the part people don't say out loud. Double consciousness isn't only a struggle, it's also a form of intelligence, right? It means you're perceptive, it means you are reflective, it means you understand that identity isn't static, it's something you negotiate and also refine, right? But it takes work, it takes honesty. It takes the courage to let all your identities sit at the same table without letting one dominate the others. And maybe the most important part of this, you don't have to fix double consciousness. You just have to learn how to live with it without letting it shrink you. You don't have to choose one identity and kill the others. You can choose integration over fragmentation, I would say. Because eventually, you will realize that the goal isn't to stop watching yourself. It's to watch yourself with kindness instead of suspicion, to observe instead of judge, to guide instead of punish. And when that shift happens, even a little, you feel a new kind of freedom. The freedom of finally belonging to yourself again. So here we are, sitting with this question that's way bigger than any of us. What does it mean to be human? And the more I think about it, the more I explore it. The more I realize it's not something you can answer in one sentence. It's something you can live, something you feel, something you wrestle with every day. We talked about philosophy, from the Greeks who said humans are seekers of truth, to the Stoics who taught us we can't control our reactions even when life is chaotic, to the existentialists who reminded us that freedom comes with responsibility, and even the Eastern thinkers who showed us that being human is also about connection, flow, and awareness. Each perspective gives us a piece of the puzzle, right? But none of them can capture the whole picture alone. Then, after that, we looked at the scientific lens, anthropology, how evolution shaped our brains, how culture shapes our values, how archaeology shows us that humans have always sought meaning, and how language also allows us to tell stories and shape our identities. It reminds us that being human is both biological and cultural, practical and creative, simple and infinitely complex. We also heard from real people on Reddit and elsewhere, who described being human as feeling too much, loving too deeply, suffering and still hoping, craving connection, imagining futures that don't exist yet, noticing the small moments, carrying contradictions, and always searching for meaning. And honestly, some of the answers hit harder than any philosophy book ever could. because they are raw and real. And then I also reflected on my personal opinion, what it feels like from the inside, self-awareness, feeling your emotions deeply, watching yourself live and change, living with contradictions, and for many of us, carrying multiple identities like Du Bois's double consciousness, seeing ourselves through our own eyes and through the world's eyes at the same time. That tension can be exhausting, but it can also make us more thoughtful, more empathetic, and more human. So, at the end of the day, being a human isn't about having it all figured out. It's not about living perfectly, being consistent, or having a single identity that fits neatly into the world. It's about showing up anyway, feeling deeply, questioning yourself, loving, hurting, growing, making meaning, learning, unlearning, storytelling, and sometimes just noticing the small things. The sunlight, a laugh, a conversation, a quiet moment, and try to feel alive along all of them. So maybe that's the answer, or at least part of it, I would say, because being a human is messy, it's layered, it's emotional, intellectual, relational, and reflective. It's constantly evolving, but it's also beautiful because it's yours to live, to feel, and to explore. I'm Mohammed, and this was Beyond the Surface podcast. Thanks for listening, stay curious, and see you next episode.